it's Shirley and Sir Winston here again, and we're getting ready to paint our window for the sidewalk art scavenger hunt. And this week's theme is J. So we thought we would do John and Jesus in the River Jordan. And we thought that you might like to join us in painting it and hearing a story about John. Now, I'm going to take my picture from this book, the First Bible Story book. We hope you'll enjoy it. This is the story of John's birth. A long time ago, there was an old couple named Zachariah and Elizabeth. They had been married a long time, but they didn't have any children. For 2 weeks a year, Zachariah served as a priest at the temple in Jerusalem. And one day he was chosen to go into the holy place of the Lord and burn incense. This was a really big thing, as it could only happen once in your lifetime. When he was doing this, an angel appeared, and Zachariah was startled and then afraid. The angel said to him, "Don't be afraid. Your prayers have been heard, and your wife Elizabeth will have a son. His name is to be John. He will be a joy and a delight to you. He will be great in the sight of the Lord. He will bring many of the people of Israel back to their God and help make people ready for their Lord." Well, by that time, Zachariah had gotten over his fear, and he said to the angel, "Are you sure? I'm old, my wife is old, and this seems very unlikely." Well, I think you could say the angel got really ticked off. He said, "My name is Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God. I was sent to tell you the good news. And because you didn't believe, you will not be able to speak or hear until this happens." Well, when Zachariah went out into the rest of the temple, people were waiting for him, and they were wondering what was taking such a long time. But then he could only make gestures with his hands, so they assumed that he must have seen a vision. A little while later, his turn in the temple was over, and he went home. And Elizabeth found that she was going to have a baby. And so the months of waiting started. Elizabeth, though, they did have a special visitor, Mary, the mother of Jesus. She came to visit Elizabeth just as soon as Mary found out from the angel that she was going to have a baby. And Mary stayed until after Elizabeth had her baby. Elizabeth had a healthy baby boy, and she was happy, and Zachariah was happy, and all their friends and neighbors were happy. And the 8th day after she gave birth, it came time for circumcision and the naming ceremony for the boy. And so the relatives and the neighbors thought that they should name the baby boy Zachariah after his father. And Elizabeth said, "No, his name is John. John means that God is gracious." And the neighbors and relatives, they weren't too sure. So they started making signs to Zachariah what was going to be the name of the baby. And Zachariah made a sign, "Bring him a writing tablet." And he wrote down, "His name is John." And then all of a sudden, Zachariah could speak. And he started praising God. And everybody was in awe. And all the neighbors started to wonder what John would be like, because it seems that God's favor was with him. And that's the story of the birth of John. Now this window with John and Jesus is a later story, and Sir Winston and I will tell you that story sometime later. You know, you think about the story and you wonder, what could we take from it? And I think one of those things is, perhaps if we have an angel with a message from God, perhaps we should express our disbelief or acceptance in another way. Because it would be almost a year that Zachariah couldn't speak or hear. Shall we have a little prayer together? If you could repeat after me. Dear God, Thank you for loving us. Thank you for the people who look after us. Thank you for the people who look after others. Help us to be kind. Help us to look after your world. Amen. And we'll see you next time at Kids Corner.